Hey everybody, it's Jason with Parallel Reality coming back with you today to go over an article I found on X from Reason. It's called Disinformation Reporter Ben Collins Failed to Correct the Gaza Hospital Story. And this is Ben Collins right here. He works for MSNBC, which should be your first red flag. And before I was even on Twitter slash X, whatever the hell you want to call it, when you were able to go incognito and just read people's stuff before Elon bought it, you couldn't interact with anything, but you could still read everybody's everything. I remember seeing this guy's name pop up as there's a mythical listing of the three worst accounts on Twitter, and it's Aaron Rupar, Kyle Griffin, and Ben Collins. Would have been those guys. I mean, people that just routinely spread information. And Kyle Griffin also works for MSNBC, so they got two of the three top ones. And Aaron Rupar, I think, works for Vox, so another far left publication. But so this guy, his job is as a disinformation reporter, not to be providing disinformation. So let's go ahead and get into it and see what this article has to say. And the guy who wrote it is Robbie Suavi, I think is how you pronounce his name. I could be totally wrong about his last name, but he's, I think, one of the founders of Reason magazine. So let's go ahead and get down here. And it says Ben Collins is a reporter for NBC News who specializes in coverage of disinformation and extremism, particularly on social media. His work has earned him many plaudits, including a 2023 Walter Cronkite Award for Excellence in Television Political Journalism. Collins is treated as an expert in the burgeoning field of countering the spread of misinformation, yet his error rate is noteworthy. Take the Gaza hospital explosion, for example. On Tuesday, reports surfaced that the Al Ahli Arab hospital in Gaza had come under attack, resulting in as many as 500 deaths. The New York Times ran with Israeli strikes kill hundreds in hospital, Palestinians say, and I forgot to mention when this article was actually from. It's from October 19th. Okay, or at least I think I did. Anyway, I just wanted to mention that so to give you some perspective as to when you're hearing this and when the article actually came out. It says underneath this headline was an image of an obliterated building. Readers who squinted would have noticed that this was not the hospital, but a completely different target. Oops. Says the Times' only source for information about the explosion was the Gaza Health Ministry. Mainstream reporting noted that the Palestinian authorities laid the blame squarely on an Israeli airstrike. Subsequent intelligence reports from both Israel and the U.S. provide credible evidence that the hospital was most probably struck by Palestinian Islamic Jihad, a terrorist group. It says, did Collins soberly wait for these facts to come in? Nope. The award winning disinformation expert helped circulate the inaccurate claims of the Palestinian authorities. When other voices on social media recommended caution, Collins chimed in to assert that any delay in reporting the horrific casualty numbers represented a profound moral failing. Casualty estimates have yet to be confirmed. And I think because this was on the 19th, was when this was written, I am recording this a few days later, and I think it's only at like maybe 50. But again, that's again not confirmed, but that's what a lot of people think it happens to be around or something like that. Says in theory, the confusion surrounding the hospital explosion is a great topic for a self-described disinformation reporter. Many left-leaning writers and political figures recklessly endorsed the Palestinian view that Israel had bombed the hospital. Says Reps Rashida Tlaib and Ilhan Omar both made statements blaming Israel and did not swiftly delete them after what really happened became clear. Omar eventually acknowledged the new information, but Tlaib again blamed Israel for the explosion during a speech at a pro-Palestinian rally outside the U.S. Capitol. Is this not something worthy of coverage by Collins and company? And it totally is. And Tlaib, at her little thing or a little shindig, the post-Palestinian rally, would have known at the time that this happened that the whole story was bunk, but she still went out there and repeated it anyway. I'll let you try to come up with a reason as to why she would have just kept repeating it. Says keep in mind that Collins represents the journalistic side of a multifaceted effort to monitor and eliminate purportedly wrong ideas. Disinformation tracking has become an industry unto itself, and aspects of the industry enjoy government funding. A disinformation watchdog that called on advertisers to divest from various non liberal news sources, including Reason, receive funding from the U.S. State Department. As disinformation reporters often seem interested in sparring only with contrarian people and in defense of mainstream narratives. Matt Taibbi, Glenn Greenwald, Elon Musk, and others. Collins, for instance, downplayed the New York Post Hunter Biden laptop story and denied that there was any effort to censor the lab leak theory of COVID 19's origins, even in the wake of ceaseless revelations that various government agencies pressured social media companies to deplatform contrarian speech about precisely these topics. Collins' reporting often contains basic errors that suggest he doesn't particularly understand the right wing forces he's denouncing. His most recent article alleges that Musk's plans for Twitter were shaped by a far right former Trump administration staffer, even though it's fairly clear the staffer wasn't actually telling Musk what to do, but rather warning about what would happen to Musk if he offended the regime. And I wonder who that's even referring to, because if Ben Collins says someone's far right, I mean, he's a leftist, so he probably doesn't actually know what the far right is. It's just anyone to, the right of Chairman Mao. So, see, it says if that sounds conspiratorial, try to follow this clip of Collins and MSNBC's Rachel Maddow elucidating the Musk plan. It's impossible to describe, so please watch. And don't know if I can actually play that, and I don't want to listen to them anyway. And this is his Twitter handle, Ben Collins. This is one underscore. It says his latest article offers for consideration that the series of changes that have been taking place at Twitter may have been a plan all along. Yeah, because he is kind of a conspiracy theorist. So after listening to that, it says, what if you're going to paint broad swaths of opinion that depart from mainstream orthodoxy as paranoid and conspiratorial? You take great pains to avoid echoing paranoia and conspiracy. You should also be aware of elementary errors, like immediately taking a terrorist group's assertions at face value and call out others who make them. And I would go ahead and just tell you right now at this point that if you do want to listen to this, the article is linked in the description below, so you can certainly do that. Says perhaps the Walter Cronkite Awards ought to have slightly higher standards. Says Collins is not the only journalist who gets things wrong, of course, but there's something extra galling about journalistic errors when they are perpetrated by someone who holds himself out as especially talented as identifying lies. That's the real problem with the army of self-appointed fact checkers and misinformation watchdogs who police social media with particular focus on alternative content creators. They're frequently no less wrong than anyone else. As earlier this week, Reuters reported that U.S. lawmakers were seeking answers from Meta, X, Google, and TikTok about the spread of false information on those platforms. Deceptive content has ricocheted across social media sites since the conflict began, sometimes receiving millions of views, wrote Senator Michael Bennet in a letter to the companies. This framing totally ignores the fact that some of the most pernicious misstatements about the situation in Gaza were peddled by mainstream journalistic institutions like the New York Times. On social media, people were able to challenge prevailing narratives that the expert class had blindly accepted. For instance, Community Notes, the crowdsourced Wikipedia-style fact-checking system on X, is often able to provide useful context about claims that appear on that platform. The disinformation reporters, on the other hand, are extremely partisan and prone to error, and they all seem to be on the left side of the political spectrum. Wonder why? So let's stop pretending that they have some special magical power to separate the truth from lies. Yeah, I agree with that. And this guy, I would not listen to anything he has to say. And again, he works for MSNBC. He's frequently wrong about the stuff that he's reporting on. So I guess disinformation reporter is actually an accurate title for him because he just keeps telling people disinformation. So let me know what you think in the comments below. Like, share, subscribe, and I will talk to you soon. Bye.